Retirement Villages Amendment Bill 2020, and as my colleague Abigail Boyd and our spokesperson for older people set out in the other place, the Greens are supportive of this bill. It contains a number of important reforms which seek to address the disgraceful rorts in the industry that were exposed back by a joint investigation by the ABC and Fairfax Media in 2017, and implement some of the recommendations for the Greiner report. This bill makes amendments to the Retirement Villages Act 1999, which will require operators to pay exit entitlements to former residents where there has been an unreasonable delay in the sale of their property, make the transition to aged care easier by allowing former residents to access a percentage of their exit entitlement to cover fees prior to their property's final sale, to cover accommodation costs, and cap the period of time for former residents to continue to pay charges for general services once they have left the villages. Some of the other key reforms included in this bill are allowing a former occupant to apply to the Secretary of the Department of Customer Service for an exit entitlement order, and the Secretary can issue an exit entitlement order where the property remains unsold after a prescribed period of 6 months for the properties in metropolitan areas and 12 months in regional areas, permitting former occupants wishing to transition to aged care accommodation to request the operator to pay part of the exit entitlement to aged care providers as a daily accommodation payment, and providing a 42-day cap for recurrent charges for general services including gardening and office costs for registered interest holders following permanent vacation. It is absolutely clear from the media reports and the revelations that came out that this is a shocking indictment on our community to see the extreme price gouging, misleading marketing, extraordinary fees and charges, and dishonest business practices of some of the largest for-profit retirement village operators. This is a clear billion-dollar industry where people are profiting from older people's housing in our state, and it is absolutely crucial that we look at the impacts on the 66,000 people in New South Wales aged over the 55 age bracket that are living in retirement villages across the state. It is absolutely essential for us to look at the recognition of the right of people to have a safe, secure and affordable place to live that is not driven by profit motives of private interests and private companies, but instead driven by our obligations in this place and across the community to ensure that everybody has a safe and secure place to call home, everybody has a right to a home, and especially that we are doing all that we can to protect the interests of older people being able to have access to a safe place to live. And I note that the former members have talked about the particular impacts on older women in relation to this issue, and I recently spoke in this very place about the massive challenges faced by older women who are facing increases in the amount of homelessness and the pressures of housing costs in this area, and is certainly something that we need to do more about. Retirement villages are indeed a popular housing choice for older people who have left full-time work, and retirement villages provide a unique opportunity for community and freedom as well as a relatively affordable housing option. We particularly know that this is a challenge with private housing and rental markets being inaccessible and unaffordable to those that no longer have a full-time salary. And I do note that there is an absolute need for us to address this crisis and this challenge in the inner city communities, where there are Aboriginal communities that have found themselves living closely to the areas around Redfern and Waterloo, and the need for us to look at the idea of investing in Aboriginal aged care facilities and housing facilities that are appropriate and designed and run by elders in those communities for other elders in those communities, and also want to acknowledge the need for particular housing and recognition of the specific needs of our diverse multicultural communities, as well as the LGBTIQ+ communities in our cities, to make sure that as they age and get older, because we know that the population is aging, as they get older, that there are appropriate options for them to be able to have safe and secure, affordable places to live. And that is why, in terms of the retirement villages and the fact that they did offer, and they do offer, a suitable solution for many older people in our community, it was so devastating to see the impacts of the retirement village industry was having on exploiting, and the lack of regulation that was available to be able to swindle thousands of often very vulnerable people out of their pensions and retirement savings. I want to be able to talk briefly to the fact that it was actually my colleague in the other place, working closely with the Retirement Village Residents Association, the Seniors Rights Service and the Council on the Ageing New South Wales, was able to bring a number of successful amendments to this bill last night to strengthen the protections for current and former residents currently in this bill, and also ensure smooth transition processes. And I want to commend my colleague Abigail Boyd for bringing those amendments, to the key stakeholders for working with her to develop those, and provide a specific shout out to Alicia Hardy in Abigail's office, who worked, I think, late into the night to ensure that those amendments were passed. The Greens are supportive of the reforms in this bill. We know that there is more that needs to be done, and that this bill is one step towards retirement village sector that operates in the best interests of residents, and we hope the focus on ensuring that older people in our community across this state will continue to be able to be looked after, and ensure that their ability to pay is not the only determinant when making sure that they have a safe, secure and affordable place to live.